Round number 3 of RCI's Porsche Cup here on Mondays. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to continuing coverage of RCI's Porsche Cup from a rainy, wet Paul Ricard in Le Castellet, France. It's a wet one out there. It was wet in practice. It's wet here in qualifying. You join us mid-session, and this is a stark contrast from Hungaroring 1 week ago. Hello, everybody. I'm Jesse Lee, joined by Kevin Boss right now with Ash Bibby behind the cameras. The middle part of the season, ever so tentative out there in the weather. Everyone trying to get their feel in the ever-changing conditions. The championship absolutely hotting up at this stage. No one has really taken the reins, so to speak. And today I worry that maybe nobody will be able to do that as well. But just as I say that, Martin Lawrence has gone top of the board. A dominant display a week ago in Hungary, looking to do the same here in France. A 2:07.290, exactly 4/10 quicker than Nico Kumfu. Stubna in third place, nearly 7/10 off of that. Boardman for the Greased Weasel effort goes P6 here in the early stages of quali. The 2:08.737, good enough for that mark. Top driver Martin Lawrence, head and shoulders above everyone else. There's a huge gaggle from fourth all the way back to eighth place. John Dalton featuring inside the top 10, and so is Gary Volpe in the 23 with that quick lap. Several cars yet to run a time that we expect to see somewhere near the front. Jordan Daly, one of those. Lily Armstrong yet to set a lap as well.
Yeah, it's good to be back in the box, and I set these conditions to be wet, slippery, and especially challenging for all these drivers here today. I did do a few laps earlier this afternoon, and I can tell you these conditions are tricky, especially like just the corner that Gary Volpe just came out of. It's very easy to spin the car just before you get onto the Mistral straight, and also the final corner where Sébastien Brunier just came out of. If you're not careful, you can easily spin the car as he goes to P11 with a 2:09.357. So still compared to the top 10, he needs to find some more time.
Yeah, he sure does. It's a tricky condition, exactly like you say, and ACC has always been incredibly tricky in the wet. This would be considered. I'm gonna give the answer here, but this is a full wet session that you're seeing right here, and it's tricky because the way you drive Paul Ricard, exactly like that, Seb Brunier, you're on the curbs. You don't really have a choice. You're going to lose time if you're not running over the curbs. Wet curbs, painted surfaces, not really conducive to grip, and you just sort of got to deal with it. But you just saw Sébastien Brunier, a champion in his own right, struggling with the car through that section. Low speed, of course, course that is mostly flat. I say mostly because it isn't all completely flat, but that also doesn't help. Of course, we are driving the older circuit, of course, without the chicanes in the Mistral Straight. That makes this a 13-turn circuit, 5.7 kilometers around. That's about 3.5, 3.6 miles if you're into old world measurements. And today they will not be threatening the lap record around here, I can assure you of that. They will, however, Kevin Boss, be threatening track limits all day.
Oh yeah, especially if you see them like slip and slide through the corners. Like you can see Seb Brunier, like with that long right-hander, like here you can see the rear step out, and there he goes wide, and that's one of those track limits that they need to be careful of, because it's very easy to just lose the rear of the car a little bit, go wide. Excuse me. And yeah, if you hit the throttle early, then the game can just ping you for those track limits, and we know they only have 3, as some of our commentators call them, freebies. So yeah, then if you do that a 4th time, you're going to get that DT, and looking at how much these drivers are struggling, we might see quite a few of them today.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's going to be one of those sort of sessions where you're out to get everything you can, but in the race, like you say, you kind of have to mind your own, because not only is the spray going to be horrible with so many cars, we've got some 25, 30 some cars out here at least, and you're going to be able to see visibility is going to be just about not. Whitburn does go P2, 2-2-2 off of the pace. Deuce is wild here in quali, the final 4 minutes of the session, and Whitburn, the only driver sort of getting in that realm. Kumpu now down to 3rd, Stubna, Huell make up the top 5. Dauber, this driver, John Dalton, for nearly on pace in 7th place, might actually get a decent qualifying for once. We have become accustomed the 2 prior rounds to seeing John have to drive through this field to get into the top 10, top 5. They might be able to start in an advantageous position today. Daly, who mentioned earlier, hadn't set a representative time, has done now inside the top 10, as you might expect. Boardman, Eloranta, the top 10 for the time being. But that, of course, with all those times so very close, very tentative here, anything can change. A couple of tenths here changes not only the row you're in, but who you're racing against entirely. You see, 2 tenths could take you from just about outside the top 10 to well inside the top 10 here.
Yeah, we do see, we can see there is quite a spread as well, but yeah, like you said, especially if you look like 9th through down to, what is that, 12th, that's all very close together, so any little bit of improvement will get you up further. We're now looking at Antonio Tiroli, Brazilian, who has only joined us for this round, so he hasn't done any driving yet in this car with us so far, and for them to start with us in round 3 in this very wet Polaroid car is a baptism of, we could say, water. But yeah, currently in P23, 5.4 seconds off the pole time set by Martin Lawrence. And yeah, it's going to be a steep learning curve for him, especially in these conditions.
Steep learning curve indeed. I think everyone's kind of come to terms with it a little bit, but they say rain is the great equalizer. Well, it can be the great separator too. If you're not comfortable in wet conditions, Mike Redford might be doing that slightly on purpose, maybe just a little bit. I don't know, but that looked almost on purpose. You know what I was saying? I was just going to go and say that I think he might have done that a little on purpose. That looked a little too purposeful, drifting around that corner. But nevertheless, there are drivers that really just don't like this particular kind of racing. They don't like racing in the wet. It's scary for them indeed, and it's just not really their speed. Others relish it, but generally it is the great equalizer, but not for Martin Lawrence, who again reset quick lap again, a 206.9, 5/10, 1/2 a second in front of this guy, Matt Whitburn, in the correct Rainbow Sparkles Racing colors this week. And we speculated, Kevin Boss, for 2 weeks on this livery on what this car was going to look like, didn't we? And this is exactly in my head when I close my eyes what I thought a Rainbow Sparkles Racing car was going to look like. That is certainly and livery on the grid.
It is and livery indeed, but yeah, when you see the team Rainbow Sparkles Racing, you think rainbows, you think unicorns, you think, well, stars and sparkles, and yeah, Matt Whitburn has delivered in that
It says what it does on the tin, you know?
Exactly.
That's It is an incredibly striking car. We're not going to lose that one all day.
No, that's definitely going to stand out. We also now finally see the Roca Poker, Les Stevenson, back in his livery, just going through the final sector in P15 at the moment, and this is now also quite a tight section with the other guys ahead. 3/10 will land him up to like P11, P12. It is a bit busy there on the final corner as he exits onto the start-finish straight. A little bit further to go, but he does have the slipstream of the car ahead to try and improve. And that was only a 218.4, so something happened there before. But Les Stevenson is lucky. He can do this final lap as he just crossed the line before the timers went to 0.
Yeah, of course, if you get to the line, all flying laps, of course, do count here in quali. So Les Stevenson will be just about the last car to finish up their laps. Jotaway will come across the line to finish their qualifying session and improves a couple of spots to 209.945, bumps them up inside the top 20 for the time being. A good mix of cars that are still out there trying to make lap time. Several now either finishing their lap or abandoning their lap, but we had a good mix there of cars still out there trying to make time. Nico Kumpu for Rebound Racing. They've not given up. Could they be up an improvement here? I think there might be. And no, it wasn't. They lost it in Sector 3, a 207.8 versus a 207.6. Not quite good enough for them to improve. Martin Lawrence doesn't really need to improve, but they will be looking for that added little bit of insurance. The Connection Loss driver will. Do they improve yet again They need to beat a 6.9, and they do it. Another couple of tenths. 2:06.6, the final time. An exclamation point in the qualifying. Matt Whitburn takes the Rainbow Sparkles car back.
Okay. 101 totally cool science experiments for kids.
You know, because you're so into science.
Sheldon, what did you do?
I know. It's not enough, is it? Here.
Leonard, look, Sheldon's hugging me.
To the garage. Still a couple of cars still out there on the lap, like Joe Dauber.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of time left because everyone is now on the final lap. They're probably all pushing to their absolute limit to try and get some extra positions. Joe Dauber's very close to get P6 maybe from Rafael Yule as he goes wide, because there is that puddle there just before the second to last corner that can catch you out, and it seems to have happened to Joe Dauber there, as we now see Les Stevens in the final car to set a qualifying time. But I guess that wasn't a good lap because he's doing a pit entry practice.
Yeah, always good to do that, especially here at Paul Ricard, where the pit entry is, let's just say, quite unorthodox. Some drivers will say that there's worse pit entries, but out of all of them in the world that I've used in the past, Paul Ricard is always the one that keeps me scratching my head. It's so narrow, and it's got a very tight chicane, and the line's right there, and it's so easy to speed or hit the wall or mess it up, especially when you're trying to make time. It's just it's one of the most nerve-wracking ones, that's for sure. Qualifying all done and dusted here for round 3 of RCI's Porsche Cup. Martin Lawrence has claimed all 3 purple sectors, quickest of all in all 3, up 2:06.677 on pole. Matt Whitburn will join him on the front row with his time of 2:07.422. Behind them in row number 2, John Dalton up to 3rd, Nico Kumpu in 4th. Stubna Hewell round out the next row. Boardman, Dauber, Armstrong, Daly the top 10. Brunier, Eloranta, and the rest. Several cars at the back of the field, note, did not qualify. That is on purpose.
Yeah, it could definitely be a strategy to start from the back now, watch all the carnage in front, because turn 1, especially with all the spray that we're going to have, it's going to be very interesting. People need to brake earlier than what they expect. And yeah, turn 1, 2, that complex is going to be very, very busy.
All right, folks, you may have noticed that the stream stuttering just a little bit. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to check on some things on the back end. The stream may end. If it does, we'll be right back live on YouTube for round 3 of the Porsche Cup here from a very wet Paul Ricard. We apologize for the inconvenience. We'll be right back.
My name is Sebastian Job, and I am a sim racer for Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing.
Side by side for the race leaders, well, Sanchez to limit contact.
My view on sim racing is that the virtual world is becoming ever closer to reality.
And Roger's going side by side.
They're able to go in and change the roll bars, the springs, the ride heights. It's becoming incredibly realistic.
Oh, big crash at the front.
It's gone to a point where it's good enough that you can measure performance through our racing.
For the first time, a British driver wins a World Championship.
Does that skill set transfer from virtuality to reality?